Wow, 2020 is behind us. It's a crazy year. So a lot of people are reassessing their level of readiness, their level of prepping. Some people are new to prepping. There's some people who are taking a second look at how they prep. Well, greetings and salutations. My name's Gil, and this is Strategic Prepper. So we're going to take a look at a step-by-step process so that you can efficiently and effectively use your limited resources and get the most out of that for prepping so that you can be ready the next time the world throws a curveball at you or the next time that you have a disaster. So if you could give a thumbs up and subscribe, hit the subscribe button that is over here, and that will help me so that I can keep making some content. So by the way, this is my first video, so go ahead and help me out and share this if you could. So let's start out with what is prepping. Basically, you're getting ready for an unscheduled event. It's kind of like insurance. You have car insurance, you're not planning for an accident, but if there's an unscheduled car accident, which they're all unscheduled, you've got some way of taking care of that. Prepping takes us a next step further, okay? So basically, you're getting ready for an unscheduled, generally unforeseen events. For example, my area is prone to hurricanes. So I'm in South Louisiana. We know we're going to get hurricanes, but we don't know when we're going to get hurricanes. So somebody who's preparing would, in advance, take measures so that when the hurricane does show up, it has minimum impact on them. Sometimes prepping means getting supplies. Sometimes prepping means getting skills. Often it's a combination of both. So we're going to begin with a 5-step process. This is going to help us to know where to apply our resources so that we can be efficient and effective. So let's get started. First step, we need to identify our threats or concerns. So before I continue, let me explain basically the process. Here we're going to begin with a 5-step risk assessment process. This is going to help us to know where to apply our resources so that we can be efficient and effective with our preps, with our time, with our money. So let's get started. The first step that we want to do is identify what the threats are. There's a number of threats out there. Don't worry right now about which threat is more significant than the other. We're going to go and rank them later on. Right now, just go ahead and hit the pause for a moment. Write down the list of all the different threats that might disrupt your life. So go ahead and hit pause for a moment, write this list down. Now that you're done, so at Strategic Prepper, we have a few items on our list. Some of these are big, some of these are small. We've got EMP, solar flare, civil unrest, government tyranny. We've got hyperinflation, pandemic, hurricane, famine, currency collapse. So we've got a lot of different things on our list of potential things that could go wrong. So first step, make sure you've got a list. Make the list as big as you want. Like I said, we're going to risk rank that in a little bit. Step 2, that's to assess each of these items independently. Now, it's important for this process to work. And by work, I mean to help you prioritize and help you be efficient and effective. If it's going to work, you're going to have to stick with the step-by-step process. Okay? So this can overwhelm a person who's just starting to prep. There's a lot here that we have to look at. Okay? So take it slow, take it step by step, and we're going to do what we call risk ranking. Okay? Risk is a factor of several elements. Okay? So we're going to look at 4 elements that contribute to the risk in a prepping environment. 4 elements. So first is the potential duration of the disaster. Second, the potential severity of the disaster. 3, how likely is that event? We're going to look at the likelihood. And 4, what's the likelihood that I personally can have a positive impact on that. Okay, so 4, what's the likelihood of my efforts creating a positive impact for me with that event? 4 factors: potential duration, potential severity, the likelihood of the event, the likelihood of my efforts affecting a positive outcome. Okay, looks like a lot of work. Bear with me. It's going to be well worth it. Little background before we continue. When I started prepping 10 years ago with my son and I, we started with this process. And over the last decade, continuing to refer to this process has saved us a lot of effort. It has helped us to stay balanced. And each of these disasters, whether it be COVID or empty shelves in the supermarkets, we were prepared. This process has helped us be balanced. It's going to help you be balanced. So I know this is going to sound like a lot of work. It's going to sound academic. You're going to get a lot out of this. Let's take a look at how we're going to score these. We're going to look independently at each one of these items. Potential duration. We're going to give it a number score. Now, there's no rocket science to this. There's no right or wrong answer. This is about your judgment. Okay, so potential duration. Is it going to last days, weeks, months, or could it last even longer? So we're going to give it a number based on what we believe the potential duration of this event is going to be. Potential severity, same thing. Is this a mild disruption? Is this going to be more significant disruption? Or is this going to be without rule of law, or what we say WROL? Each one's going to have a different numerical value. We go to the third category, likelihood of the situation. Okay, could happen, likely to occur in my lifetime. It has occurred in my lifetime, has occurred multiple times within the last 40 years. So we're going to take a look at this situation, give it a number based on the likelihood. The last one, what's the likelihood of you affecting a positive outcome? This is important because if you have something like a meteor strike landing on top of you, yes, it's going to be really bad, but there's not a thing that you can do that's going to save your butt. Okay, so that's why this one is important. The likelihood of your efforts giving you a leg up. So you've got not realistic, realistic with adequate preparation, and likely or very likely that you can have a positive impact on your success or your survival through the situation. Go ahead and number rank each one. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So take a look at the screen right here. You can see it's strategic prepper. We have gone and given numbers to each one of these. And we have gone across and ranked every one of those. So the next step, step 3, we're going to risk rank. Every one of our potential situations has 4 numbers. We're going to multiply those numbers. So your risk rank is simply multiplying each of those 4 numbers. That's going to give you a number. That number is going to be your risk ranking. So go ahead and do that. For me, I do mine on a spreadsheet. I let the computer do the work for me. Okay, so go ahead and do the calculations, come up with those numbers. As you can see on the screen, I've got mine on the spreadsheet. All right, so we've got the risk ranking. The next step, step 4, is to prioritize. So we have all these potential scenarios that we have to deal with. Which ones do we start to get ready for first? So let's go ahead and take a look. As strategic prepper, our numbers came up with 3 serious situations. Hurricanes, and oh yeah, they've been nailing us. Civil unrest or rioting, and the third one is famine. Now, this process is a guide to help us to go through all the information. The reason I say it's a guide is if you look at something and you say, there's no value in that to me, or that's not really a concern of mine. Let me give you an example. Famine. I'm going to be taken care of by famine with my other preps. So I want to ignore famine. even though it has a high score based on my own personal calculations. So I'm going to look at the next one. I'm dropping famine off. So my new 3 is hurricanes, civil unrest, and hyperinflation. That's where I'm going to focus my efforts. Okay, find out what your top 3 priorities are. So take a look and calculate your top 3 priorities. Step 5, and this is the really important one. Step 5 is focus. This is what we're going to focus on. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what could go wrong with each one of these scenarios. Let me give you an example. With a hurricane, I could lose power. I could flood. Maybe I can't get to the store for several days, so I could run out of food. Okay, so I'm going to list each of these things that can go wrong. I'm going to do that for civil unrest. I'm going to do that for hyperinflation. One of the things I'm going to do is look for commonalities. For example, if lack of food is a commonality, then I only have to prepare my food reserves once, and they're covered for all 3 situations. This way we're being efficient. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong, and a lot of people like to go prepare for the big items, the EMP. Well, I've got EMP on my list, but it's not my big concern based on my risk ranking. We'll take care of EMP preparation later, but right now we're going to get started on the big 3 and a strategic prepper. That's hurricane, that's civil unrest, and that's hyperinflation. Those are our big 3. So take a look at your big 3 and leave a comment below. And again, make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe and share this. Thanks.